Okay, that's backslash identifiers done. Hopefully that's not confused you too much. Let's now move on to quantifiers to see exactly how many of each individual character we want to match to. Okay, let's now get into quantifiers, and as I've already said, this is a way of specifying how many of each individual letter, number or group that we want as part of our overall match. There's 4 ways that we can achieve this. So we can use the star notation, we can use the plus notation, we can use the question mark, and we can use curly bracket notation, and that in itself can contain a comma. So there's quite a few ways of specifying this. Hopefully I will go slowly enough that you do understand it, but if you do struggle to follow along, by all means do pause the video, go back 10 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever you need to do. If you need to go over it several times to fully understand it, that is absolutely okay. But for now, let's get started. And let's get started specifically with the star. Okay, so let's start with the star notation. Now, this essentially means that it will match on the specified string or letter that's before the star between 0 and unlimited amounts of times. Now, what that ultimately means is that this becomes optional. So if I was to use the letter U followed by the star, like I say, it says over here, it says that it will match the previous token, which in our case is the U, between 0 and unlimited times. Again, what I've essentially said that suggests that it is optional. So if I was to use the word color, again, spelt differently between the UK and US, but we can do this using star notation. So if I put in the word color as it's spelt in the UK, then after the U, we can put in a star. And if we test this on the word color, both using the U and not using the U, so I'll put in color spelt the US way and color spelt the UK way, we can see that it actually matches both versions of the word color. And this makes the star notation incredibly useful to us. Now, once we get onto the question mark, that's ideally an even better way of achieving this. Why is that? Well, if let's say, for example, I misspelt the word color and I accidentally used 3 U's, it will still match. Why is that? Well, because it matches between 0 and unlimited amounts of times. So the star notation for this specific example, while it is very, very useful to us, it's not the best way to achieve it. If, however, I replace that star with a question mark notation matches between 0 and 1 times. So it is still optional, however, it's only expecting it to not appear at all or to appear only once. In our example, we would never spell the word color with multiple U's, so we don't want to match on the potentially unlimited amount of times. But for this example, between 0 and 1 is absolutely perfect. While we're here, I do want to touch on the plus notation. Now, this essentially means that it will match between 1 and unlimited amounts of times. So what it's saying is that the letter or the number or the group has to be present, but it can be present an unlimited amount of times. So for example, let's say that I wanted to match a number. Now, specifically a number that could be of any length. So if I was to use backslash D followed by a plus, this will now match on any number that is not specifically 1 digit, but it can be an unlimited amount of digits. So if I was to put in the number 1, followed by the number 2 twice, followed by the number 3 3 times, followed by the number 8 8 times. you will see that there are 4 matches here. And the 4 matches are specifically 1, 22, 3 3s, and 8 8s. So it's the perfect way, \d plus is the perfect way to match any whole number that may be in your string or your document. And the reason for that is we're using \d, which matches a digit, and we're using plus notation, which says to match that digit between 1 and unlimited times. So we can match 1 digit, we can match 100 digits. As long as it's part of the whole number, it will match that whole number. And that makes the plus notation incredibly useful, specifically for numbers. It can also be useful for matching text as well in specific circumstances, but for matching numbers, using the plus notation is brilliant. Finally, I want to touch on the curly bracket notation. Now, this is a way of specifically saying how many of a letter, a number, a group that you want to match on. So if I was to put in \d and then curly braces with a 3 in there, what this will do is specifically match a 3 number block. And so we can see that we match on the 3 3s. We also match on the blocks of 8 that are in here as well, because there are obviously 8 of them, so there are many different combinations of 3 that can fit into that. So what we can use as part of this is, say, we can use our word boundary notation again, and we can say \b followed by 3 digits followed by another \b. And what this will do is specifically match only numbers that are 3 digits in length, no more, no less. What we can also do with curly brace notation is we can put in a comma. So in our example here, we can put in 3, comma, and what putting in 3 and a comma will do is say that we want to match that digit between 3 and unlimited amount of times. If we then put in a number after this, we can say we want to match any string with a amount of digits between 3 and whatever number we put after the comma. So we can put 3, 4, and this will only match the 3 3s. However, if we put in 4 4s, let's say, it will also match the 4 4s because it's looking for a block of digits that are between 3 and 4 digits long. So a quick test for you again then. I want to potentially match on a string that is 3 digits followed by a hyphen followed by 3 digits again, and then it optionally has a letter at the end. So let me demonstrate what I mean. So I want to match on 333 hyphen 456. I want to match on 444 hyphen 567A, and I want to match on 890 hyphen 000. However, I don't want to match on 4A4 hyphen 555, and I don't want to match on 333 hyphen 21. So have a think about how you might achieve this. This will use word boundaries, it will use curly brace notation, it might even use a question mark. So have a think. Pause this video while you have a think about it, and I'll be with you very shortly. Okay, perfect. Hopefully you've had a chance to go away and think about this one. It's not the most simple by any means, but we will go through it step by step. So, again, the first thing that we want to go through is word boundaries. We don't want them to be part of a longer string without any spaces in there, so we want to use \b and another \b at the very beginning, at the very end of our regex. and the rest of our regex will go in between those two. We want to use digits. We want to look at specifically digits that are 3 digits in length. So how do we do that? Well, we use \d, and then we open a curly bracket and put in the letter 3, and then close that curly bracket. We then want to specifically use a hyphen, so we put in a hyphen there afterwards. And again, we want to look at another group of 3 digits. So again, \d, open curly brackets, 3, close curly brackets. Finally, we want to optionally match on a letter, and let's say that we want that to be a lowercase letter specifically, so we can open square brackets and use A to Z, close those square brackets, and crucially, we then want to put in a question mark afterwards, which means that matching on that is optional. And now we can see that we're matching on the correct strings. So 333-456, 444-567A, and 890-000 are all matched. And the incorrect strings that we specifically didn't want this to match are not matched by it either. So well done if you got that one. I appreciate that it was not the most simple at all. There are quite a few different elements as part of it. But if you did get it right, well done. That's actually quite difficult regex to understand. You certainly wouldn't have understood it at the beginning of this lesson. So very well done. By the way, if you are finding this video useful, do consider dropping me a like on the video and potentially leaving me a comment to let me know what it is you're enjoying about it. Any likes or comments on the video are massively appreciated. They help to boost the algorithm for me, and it's overall letting us both have a great time. Thank you. Great, that's quantifiers dealt with. Now let's quickly talk about boundaries. Okay, back to Regex 101 then, and let's very quickly talk about boundaries. Now there are only 2 or 3 boundaries that are used in regex, one of which we've already been through plenty before, that being \b. That is of course a word boundary that signals the beginning or the end of a word. Now there are 2 other boundaries that we want to pay a lot of attention to. They are the caret, which is typically Shift and 6 on your keyboard, and they are the $. For me, that's Shift and 4 on the keyboard. It might be something else for you. Now, what these will signify, specifically the start and end of the overall string that you're providing, rather than just being a word boundary. So if I wanted to match on the letter A, but I wanted that letter A to be only the letter A that's at the very, very beginning of the string, as in the first character of that string, then I would use the caret to achieve that. So I would put in the caret followed by the letter A. And if I just put in a load of A's in my test string, it will specifically match the very first one because that's at the very beginning of the string, but no others. And that goes for separate words in the string as well. So I can put in more words that are just the letter A. It doesn't matter. It's only interested in the one that's at the very beginning of the string that you're providing it. That makes the caret very, very useful for specifically looking at documents or strings that maybe have a couple of digits at the start or a specific phrase at the start to be able to filter down on specific documents or strings. Equally, we have the $, to do the exact opposite job. So if I put in the A followed by a $, we can see again that we're only interested in one of the A's in the whole string, but in this example it's now the final one rather than the beginning. So again, there may be documents or strings that you have that will end in a specific phrase or end in a specific letter or number, and if you want to only return those, then the $, is for you. And just to say, great news everybody, there's no test on this one. I would find it far too easy for you, so let's not use a test this time and jump straight into the next subject.